when it goes.
All right, welcome to this week's episode of Passively Offside. I'm Boris, joined again by the Passively Offside crew. We're all here. Let's get this thing going. Just kind of recapping last week's and the weeks before, kind of so that y'all know where we're at and with predictions. Taylor's at a whopping 4 out of 18. Me, Boris, I'm up at 7 of 18 on our predictions so far. Brandon has gotten up to 10 of 18. I have no idea how he's doing it. That's just complete luck. Splenda, Steven, we have you at 1 of 9 right now. That's all right, man. It's a whole season. We can get you back up. Nephi, you're up to 5 of 18. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Kind of to get that segment that we were going to start up last week, Taylor, go for it.
All right, thanks, man. We're going to kick off with some Goal of the Week, Save of the Week stuff like that. We all took a vote before the podcast. Right now, we are putting Goal of the Week at Dempsey. That beautiful free kick up into the crossbar, drops down. Didn't think it was on at first, but that thing dropped in. And who was that headed it in just to double check?
That was Obafemi Martins.
Obafemi Martins. Well, he double checked it, but it was good to go there. Next, we have our Save of the Week. We've got Clark for that, the Columbus Crew keeper. Save on Wando. That was just dirty and beautiful, and it was fantastic. And rounding out Player of the Week, we're going back to Deuce here. Clint Dempsey can't stop, won't stop, just absolutely destroying it right now. He's on a roll, and we're giving him Player of the Week as well. Over to you, Boris.
Alrighty then, just kind of to get stuff kicking off with our topics this week. The Jack Mack and the Andrew Wenger trade. That's Philly and Montreal switching basically a like-for-like trade. Both of them score on their respective debuts. Wenger put in a goal around Jeff Attinella on RSL, and Jack Mack with a goal putting it right past Sean Johnson. Is this trade looking to be an even trade for the rest of the season, or at one point is this going to be something that will be heavily one-sided? Nephi.
To be honest, I think it's going to be about an even trade. There's some points that I know my colleague Brian's going to bring up. I think Wenger, though, I think really it's going to be an even trade. I think they both will complement their new team style of play a lot better. But I know I'm going to send it over to Brian, though, because I know he's got some more in-depth on this.
Well, honestly, I think this trade favors Montreal slightly more. The way I've seen the two players play, Wenger needs more help in creation. Like he can finish, but he needs someone to create that goal for him, or create that opportunity for him rather. As far as Jack Mack can kind of break away. He's got a little more pace. He can create his own opportunities. All he needs is the ball and a one-on-one with the defender. I think that leads to a lot more goals for Montreal than it does for Philly.
Was this a trade that Philly did as quickly as they did this season because Jack Mack wasn't on his form? Last year, Jack Mack started out, I believe it was 9 goals in 7 games, and then he just kind of plateaued the rest of the season, and he was just kind of off towards the end. Do you think that's the reason they made the trade for Wenger, or systematically he just did not fit in the system that the Union have? Taylor?
You know, we talked about this a little bit before we started. A big part of this trade, again, is it's a like-for-like trade. These players are basically the same people, but what it really comes down to is where they're going to be happy, where they're going to make stuff happen, and who they can play with. I mean, really, I think it was really quick because they weren't kind of working too well. Jack Mack's not performing too well. Send him off, get someone who's almost exactly like him, can play his same style, will fit in with the team really quick. And I mean, again, they both scored in their debut. Obviously, a good trade. I think we're in for some interesting topics throughout the season with these two players.
All right, awesome. You want to go ahead and?
Yeah, sorry. That's my bad. Our next topic here is DC United. They won against New York Red Bulls. A big question here is, was the bus parked after the goal by Davey? I mean, DC United, worst team in the league last season, come back to beat New York Red Bulls. I mean, that's a big thing. I kind of want to hear from you, Splenda. What do you think?
It's definitely any given Sunday. Any team can kind of pump themselves up for a game. They may have seen Red Bulls as kind of a game where they can make a statement. And definitely coming out and scoring pretty quick. Was it the 15th minute?
Yeah.
So pretty quick goal. That really set the pace for the game. DC definitely had their stuff together, and Red Bulls, I don't know if it's a marker for the season or not, but getting punched in the mouth that early by a quick goal and not having the kind of wherewithal to stick with it, that may develop as the season goes. But early season, we'll see how things play out. But good win for DC.
Cool, Boris. I want to hear a little more from you about that.
Well, real quick shout out to my buddy Steve Prince, who is out there working with FC. Well, not with FC Dallas, with US Youth Soccer. Big DC United fan. Was mad at me for only giving them a draw last week. Hey, they won. Congratulations, man. Honestly, that goal by Davey Arnaud, back post, snap down header, right into the back of the net, was amazing. I love watching DC play. I hate that they have Sean Franklin from the LA Galaxy. He's providing so much width for them right now, and Perry Kitchen is such a great player there too. I will say that I feel they did park the bus though, because they got the goal really early. Right about the 40th minute, New York started to have a lot more joy on the attack. Granted, they didn't put anything in, but it looked like the second half they were just grasping at stitches, making sure that no goal came in. So I feel like the bus was parked, but hey, for DC, they got the win, and what matters is getting the 3 points. And this early in the season, that's definitely going to help them, hopefully later in the long run. Brandon, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I definitely think they very clearly parked the bus a little bit. I mean, 90% of the time you saw them after the goal, you saw 10 out of the 11 players behind the ball with just their striker up top hanging out, waiting for hopefully an outlet to come to him. I think they took a page out of Chelsea's Champions League book and just kind of hung back and looked for counters, and that was about it. They didn't do anything else after that. I mean, very rarely did you really see them get forward for more than a few seconds.
All right, yeah, that definitely is kind of how that ended up going. Kind of next point we're going to bring up, New England Revolution. They had that article, I think it was in Vanity Fair, about was it Vanity? I don't even know what it was. But 3 weeks ago, where it was that they have the worst ownership in the MLS, and next thing you know, here they come, and they've gotten 2 wins in a row. They looked really good out there against Houston last week. Real quick, Nephi, what's your thoughts on that game? Do you think they can keep this momentum going?
Can they? Yes. Will they? It's up to them. The thing with New England, they're a young team. They're a talented team, but they are young. And it's been said for since last season, all the young players stepped it up. And then last year, I think they've lost, 2 of their major components from last season, especially with Juan Agudelo. And you saw that in the beginning. Well, first, Keelan Rowe wasn't in for a good while because of his injury. You lost Juan Agudelo, so that threw their offense, which is a key component to them. They're an offensive team. They're not a well-rounded team. They're an offensive team. Their defense lacks quite a bit. So now that Teal Bunbury scored, hopefully that happens, that keeps going on, and that will propel them through. But like I said, they're a young team. We'll see what happens.
Just going to correct you on that. Teal Bunbury provided the assist. I believe it was Kevin Alston that scored on his first game back after injury. I believe that was the first time he scored in 5 years. So good on you, Kevin Alston. Go ahead and send this over to Brandon.
First thing I want to mention, as far as New England being able to get their keep this momentum going, keep the wins coming, Teal Bunbury is a very interesting player in that he's a talented player, but at the same time he has an incredibly impressive flaw. He's a very hot or not player. if he's having bad games, getting out of that rut is incredibly difficult for him. As far as when he's hot, when he's doing good things, when he's getting assists, getting goals, or playing a pivotal part. Wow, I'm sorry, everybody. Pivotal part in the play that leads up to a goal, he gets hot. And when he gets hot, he doesn't stop. It's just keeps going. I think as long as he can get a goal, maybe another assist, if he can keep his own momentum going, I think you'll see New England keep that momentum going on their own.
All right, sounds good. Taylor?
So I'm kind of up in the air about this topic. I mean, I honestly think they can keep the momentum going. I think they can keep pushing on. I think they can go into Chicago and just kind of shove it up them. I don't really know much else to say there. I think the Revs have been playing really well. They've got their second in a row, like you said, and I think they're going to keep going. Moving on to our next thing here, Portland is winless in 2014. They're going into a match this week with RSL. Really a question here. We've kind of got a rematch from the Western Conference final last year. Splendid, do you think they can eke out a win? Can they do something on Saturday?
So I'm definitely thinking that Portland circled this on their calendars as soon as they got the schedules made, that this is their chance for redemption. Playing a close game in the second leg, that was definitely a frustrating loss at the end of their season. So coming into the Riot, tough place to play. Utah has been very, very tough place to play, whether it's basketball, soccer, whatever it is. Passionate fans that show up. So definitely RSL is going to have the fans behind them. Portland, if they keep playing how they're playing, it's going to be a tough game for them. This is actually one of our predictions for the week, so there we go.
Cool. Nephi, how do you feel about them coming into the Riot? How do you think that's going to change the game?
Like I was talking about earlier, to me right now, Portland, pretty much a defeated team. They had probably their easiest, what looked on paper, their easiest game against Chivas last week, tied at home. They're coming to RSL. RSL still undefeated. We hope Portland can pull it out so we have a good Western Conference. I just don't see them doing it.
Cool. One more I want to touch on, Brandon. I kind of want to ask you a really specific question about this. A couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago here when they played Seattle, it was a 4-4 tie. That's 8 goals in a game, and yet they haven't won anything. So how do you feel Portland coming into Real Salt Lake's house? I mean, what do you kind of think this game's going to look like?
Well, normally Portland can play a very pretty game. Unfortunately, though, against RSL, it's going to be hard for them to get the possession they're going to need in order to get that to create opportunities. You're not going to see a 4-4 game between RSL and Portland. I think the last playoff series was a bit of a fluke as far as how much scoring was going on in those games. Expect to see Portland play on the counter. Expect them to play a little bit more physical than they usually do. Anything can happen when you're playing that physically. Expect to see maybe a bunch of yellows, maybe or even a red card, and then if that happens, RSL is just going to take advantage of the game. I don't think Portland's going to really pull out a win against RSL, especially in Salt Lake. I just don't think that's going to happen. It's not an easy place to play for any team anywhere. I don't see Portland getting their first win here.
Okay. That's fair. On to our next thing here. I actually want to start with you, Boris, as our resident LA expert. We've got LA switches to a diamond formation. A diamond. That's RSL. Imitation since a flattery. So was Bruce just dicking off? Was he trying something new? Can we expect to see the diamond from LA? Again, you're our expert here. How do you feel about LA through the rest of the season with this?
I'm not a big fan of the diamond. I never have been. But now we're going into, within the past month and a half, seeing the USMNT use the diamond, RSL use the diamond. Now Bruce Arena decided he was going to use the diamond. The one thing I will say is Baggio, Husidic, and Marcelo Sarvis looked a lot more comfortable playing the wings. Juninho, that is his spot right there. That center defensive mid, playing the Beckerman role, if we're going to put it in RSL terms. I'm really wanting to know why we started Ishizaki over, let's say Azardes in that the top of the diamond formation. But that paid off. Ishizaki is definitely in a lot better form than Zardes is, and I think LA's trying to get Landon Donovan that number 135 in the record in the MLS, as starting Landon Donovan up top with Keane and getting them into that momentum for them to probably start scoring a lot of goals in tandem this year. The way they played against Vancouver, they had a lot of opportunities, and they could have won that game 2-3-0. I can see Bruce Arena keeping this going because it looks like those players that we had on the field felt comfortable there. Wasn't too big of a fan, but if the football looks good and they play good and they feel comfortable, man, I like it, I guess. I'm not a big fan, but if it looks good, it looks good.
One thing you said in there, I'm glad you actually brought it up, something that we weren't going to touch on, but I want to. Landy's record. Well, not his record, his hopeful record, what he's trying to make his record, all-time leading goal scorer. He got close, but was it a little hyped up? Again, Boris, I want a quick thing from you just because I see you want to talk about this. Was it overhyped? Because I watched the beginning of that game, and all they were saying was, oh, he's going to get it. Oh, he's going to get it. But in Landy's eyes, that interview, he said it's not about that. It's about winning the game. How do you feel he felt? How do you feel it was hyped?
Well, honestly, Landon Donovan, if you've ever seen any of his interviews going back however long it's been now, he always has a cool, calm, collected head. He kind of sounds like a douche sometimes, but he makes it more about the team and not himself, which is something that a lot of people like. I mean, he's the face of soccer in the United States, and he's doing a good job of it. Now, overhyping the 135, I think so. And you can't just keep putting that on him because that's going to be a monkey on his back, and it might be a long time till he scores a goal.
All right. Well, I also want to hear from you, Brandon, a little bit about both of these. How do you feel about LA's diamond?
Well, and I wanted to mention something. When Boris said you don't know why they would start Ishizaki over Zardes up top, it's namely because Zardes is all pace. He's an excellent winger. He's not as creative as we would like him to be. He's an exciting player, and when he learns to finish or create, one or the other, or both, if we're all lucky, I think he'll be a deadly player for the LA Galaxy. I mean, absolutely lethal. However, at this point in time, he lacks the ability to create to pass that final ball. He lacks the ability to slot that ball home away from the keeper under pressure. Ishizaki doesn't. Ishizaki is a veteran. He's a player that's been around for a long time. He's very experienced. He's not going to make the same mistakes that a younger player like Zardes is going to make. And I think that's why you have Ishizaki at the top of the diamond. That said, Donovan is saying the right things during interviews. He's absolutely saying the right things during interviews. I mean, but I think he's kind of lying to himself a little bit. If he's a liar, an absolute liar. There's no way that isn't in the back of your head. This reminds me of an actual baseball situation that happened a while back. I'm from Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Brewers' Trevor Hoffman was looking to break the all-time saves record. He's a closing pitcher for the Brewers. The Brewers fans started creating a tally system for him, big tifo type thing for the games. He sincerely requested that we tear it down because it was getting in the back of his head and it was ruining his ability to finish. We refused. He finally got it, though. He finally got it. Happy ending. Everyone wins.
I mean, with the Landon Donovan, his next goal puts him over there. I think we can all agree it's not a matter of if, but when. So, I mean, Splenda, when?
you know, sometimes you just gotta be professional, strap the boots on every week. I definitely think it's an inevitability at this point. He is going to get a goal. I agree that it's going to be when, not if. And we're just hoping that he etches his name in forever with a record book. That's it.
Cool. Neeps, what do you have to say?
So my only comment I have on the subject is good job, Bruce Arena, for finding Ishizaki. That man is one of that group can find diamonds out of almost anywhere, and that man is a diamond for him. Like, no one knew him. I mean, he's from Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Sweden International.
Sweden International. Like, just a great find for him. I believe he's going to do amazing things for him this year, and I'm going to say he is going to be one of the key components that makes LA a playoff contender this year.
All right, just a quick breaking news type thing for you guys. New York Red Bulls got a win over Philly 2-1. That game came down kind of to the wire there with Zega guy being sent off and Letu putting in the penalty, but obviously New York did enough to hold off. Back to Nephi.
Yeah, so our last topic for the night is about our man, Clint Dempsey, or I should say my man, Clint Dempsey. Just his form. Is he going to continue this form? He's got 5 goals, 2 games, forcing an own goal, so that's all the goals for Seattle in the last 2 games. Is this going to transfer over to the World Cup? I believe it is. I believe this is the form he was when he was at Fulham, and this is going to be the Dempsey that everyone was crying, oh, he's supposed to be this amazing European player. Well, this is it. Suck it. All you stinking Dempsey haters. And I'm sitting with a lot of them.
Brandon,
what do you have to say about that?
Hold on.
Can I just say,
Wow.
Brandon is naming his first child.
Oh, God.
No, we're talking about that. What's your first child's name? What's your first child's name going to be?
First child's name is going to be Dempsey Donovan Arndt.
Dempsey Donovan. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Go back. Talk about Deuce.
I hate you. Well, all you're seeing right now is the real Dempsey showing up and doing exactly what we all expected him to do. He's just doing what we all expect at this point. I mean, if you expected him to come in and score hat tricks last season, you're an idiot, an absolute idiot. He had no time for fitness. He wasn't in form. He hadn't been playing with Tottenham's team. He had no chance to create, to really get into that rhythm. Now he's had time to get set with his team. I mean, we went over this last week. He had time to get set with his team. The guy's gonna start doing shit for this league. He's going to. That's just the way it's gonna be.
Cool, I dig it. Splenda, how do you feel about Deuce?
I think he's really coming into his own now in the MLS. Echoing what Brandon said, he's really starting to show up, be a professional. I got nothing.
Great commentary, always from our resident newbie. Just so everyone knows, if you're new, Splenda's new to the sport. Don't hate him too much. Boris, close us out. How do you feel about Deuce?
I'm going to mention one thing, and everyone that's been watching him play throughout the years will probably notice this and then have that moment. If you saw that game against FC Dallas, Deuce was smiling a lot. Deuce felt happy. We didn't have the Deuce face. We had smiling Deuce. We had Deuce that looked having fun. Like it wasn't his job to be out there. I mean, after he hit that free kick goal, he turned around and just went, he just like was happy about it. That's one of those things that if you keep, our players like that happy, in form, they're going to continue to be in form. I mean, I hate to do, it's a heart-wrenching trade to mention, us sending Mike McGee to Chicago. In his open letter to the fans, Mike McGee said he wanted it too. His family's in Chicago. He wanted to live out there. He's happy out there, and look what happened. He ended up being MVP of the league. That's kind of the only thing I have on that. Real quick, though, kind of in the breaking news spectrum of things, MLS did announce that in 2017, Atlanta will be its next franchise, and it is actually the 22nd franchise, not Miami's. The only reason why Miami's isn't considered number 22 is because Miami cannot be considered a franchise until it has a stadium planned, completely approved, and building has begun. That was one of the things Don Garber said in that press conference. So that's why Atlanta, who now have a stadium, which will be the new Atlanta Falcons Stadium with Arthur Blank and his money, that they are officially the number 22 franchise in the league. As you can see, Brandon is wearing his Atlanta Silverback stuff. We don't know yet. It might be the Silverbacks. It might not. They might just use the Silverbacks as a farm team. As we all know, that is a requirement of the MLS. Nephi, do you have any thoughts on that?
My only thought on that was just MLS doing an MLS thing, because I know, like you mentioned, they had to have a stadium planned out, but as we all know, New York FC doesn't, and they just announced, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, that the first 3 seasons will be played at Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm. They did announce that, but that's because the stadium has already been approved by the New York City Council, and I believe it was Flushing Gardens.
Flushing Meadows.
So they already have that approval, which I believe is the requirement of the MLS. Don't quote me on that because I'll have to look through all the expansion rules again before I say that.
Even if that was approved, that was way after they were announced as the next as a team of MLS. But I mean, it's MLS. They've done stuff like this all the time. The ghost rules. Well, we're making this exception because it benefits MLS. Which right now, I'm at the point where stuff like this kind of needs to stop. We're at a point, we're at a point now where MLS needs to solidify more rules, and Don Garber did great. He's brought MLS to where it is. No one can deny that. But we need to now stop doing all these little, this is what's best for MLS. No, we have rules set. We follow the rules that we have set for MLS to have a high standard for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I liked the addition of that. I'm glad we got to talk about that a little bit. Kind of excited to see what Atlanta does coming in a couple of years. Rounding us out, we're going to do your favorite segment, ladies and gentlemen. It is our predictions. And we got a lot of feedback on this. We know it was a little overdrawn last week. We're not all going to do every single team, so if you just signed off like a couple people did, I'm sorry. We're each going to take 2. I'm going to kick us off. One of my games is actually already over. Let the record show that my colleagues know I did choose New York before the podcast started. So, point for me. Brandon, shut your mouth. Point for me. I've got New York winning over Philly. I think, we didn't catch all that game. We were getting prepared. I think it came down to the wire a little bit with that red card in the PK. My next one is Philly-Houston. I'm going to give that.
Philly plays 2 this week.
Oh,
yeah.
They played 2
yeah,
games?
They got 2 this week.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot they had that back-to-back.
So, Philly is playing a second game this week. They are playing against Houston. I think, oh man, that's hard because it's going to be, they just played, so they're going to come in a little tired maybe. Houston's got a little more time to relax. With the way Houston's been playing recently, I really, really think Philly's got this regardless. I think they're going to take it. At the very least a draw, but I am giving it to Philly. I'm putting my money on that. Nephi, how do you feel about your picks?
I've got Chicago versus New England. Chicago has so many ties, not a lot of wins. New England has 2 wins off a great game. I'm going to go New England. Next one is Colorado and San Jose. Even though I do hate San Jose, I still give it to Colorado. Not because I hate San Jose, but because I think Colorado is just a better team right now, and I believe that they're just going to win it.
Awesome. I definitely agree with that, especially with Colorado being a better team. Over to you, Brandon. You've got a couple for us.
Well, it looks like I've got the Vancouver-LA rematch. This one's in Vancouver, correct, Boris?
Yes,
I'm still going to give it to LA, and I think Donovan gets a record, by the way. I think it happens this week.
Big call.
And then as far as Columbus, DC United, I got to go Columbus. They have been pretty hot this year, only faltering a little here or there, never really in too much trouble. And Higuain is just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Just give him the ball. That's your if you're Columbus, that's your only strategy. Just pass it to Higuain.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to know that you think the record's going to be broken this coming week. I'm excited to see it. Boris, what do you have for me?
You heard it here. It was an SKC fan, not the LA fan, that predicted that the record was being broken this
Let
week.
the record show.
Let the record show. And let the record show also that Passively Offside is the first team to say it is happening this week.
Don't quote us on that one.
The games I have for you guys, Sporting Kansas City versus Montreal. Montreal just coming off of that draw with Chicago. SKC coming off of their bye week after a draw with RSL. Honestly, Montreal is a great team, but kind of like last year, they start off really good, and then they just plateau hard, and they just drop. We're only into week 7, so I don't think they're going to plateau just yet, but SKC is the defending champions. You might see Tony starting this week. I'd give him the nod. I can see SKC winning this one. That's actually what I'm going to go ahead and say. Next game, Dallas versus Toronto. I don't have it clear yet if Michael Bradley and Jermaine Defoe will be back for Toronto, but you still got to think of all the offensive weapons they have. They have Gilberto, and they also have Dwayne Di Rosario. Dallas is coming off of this tough loss to Seattle. I give this win to Toronto on the basis that I'm thinking Defoe and Bradley will start. And Dallas, they seem to teeter a lot after a loss, so that's how I'm going to roll with that one.
Cool. Okay. Well, closing us off, Splenda, you've got a couple for me. Especially, you have the last team in the league who is undefeated. What do you give it?
Who's undefeated? RSL?
RSL is currently.
That they are.
Real
That
Salt Lake
they
has
are.
currently not
That
lost a
they are. I'm
game.
not used to this whole draw thing. So RSL and Portland, Timbers coming to the riot. Definitely, again, think Portland have a chip on their shoulder. RSL really needs that win. And, again, they play great at the riot, so I'm giving that 2-0 to RSL. And, again, final game I have is Seattle and Chivas. I think Dempsey is too strong. They've got too many weapons, and Chivas doesn't have enough, but I think they're going to get one. So I'm giving it 3-1 Seattle over Chivas.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Boris, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, all I want to say is Ala Madrid, suck it Barcelona fans.
Ooh.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Oh.
Gareth Bale.
Oh.
Gareth
Sick
Bale.
Sick goal.
That's all I want to say
If you
to all you
haven't seen it,
Barcelona
go
fans.
watch it.
Ala Madrid, Madridista al corazón, right? Thanks for tuning in, guys. We shall be back next Wednesday live again here on Google+. We'll have that recorded for you on YouTube and hopefully have those podcasts out for you. You guys have a good one.